Good morning, everyone. It's great to see you here today. And I see a lot of faces that we saw last weekend at our wonderful Tenchi Kana no Kami grand ceremony and Shinko Sensei's 50th spiritual birthday. So today's our monthly service for June. And I wanted to talk a little bit today about the concept of gratitude. Konko-sama, our current spiritual leader in Hombu, Konko headquarters, wrote a New Year's article about a concept called on. The phrase is goon ni mezameru, goon ni muku iru. So the key phrase there is on. And I talked to a lot of different people, Japanese-speaking people, and I asked them, what does on mean? And then they go, kind of roll their eyes and say, oh, that's difficult. That's a difficult concept. And so I learned a lot by talking with people. And then I turned to my good friend, ChatGPT, for a translation. So this phrase, the phrase is goon ni mezameru and goon ni muku-iru, are Japanese and relate to the concept of gratitude and repayment for received kindness. Goon ni mezameru, goon means kindness or favor received from someone, often implying a sense of obligation or gratitude. Mezameru means to awaken or to open your eyes, to be aware of. Together, this phrase means to awaken, be aware of the kindness or favor received. Goon ni muku-iru. Goon, again, refers to kindness or favor, on. And muku-iru means to repay or to feel an obligation towards. Combined means to repay the kindness or to return the favor. These phrases carry significant cultural and historical connotations. And in Japanese, the recognizing the and reciprocating kindness and favor through gratitude and obligation. In the context of the Konko faith, what do you believe on is referring to? Any thoughts? I think that the phrase on in our faith refers to the term that most of you are familiar with, okage. Okage, or Kami's blessings. And that sounds familiar to you, I hope. If you look at page 6 of your prayer books, that's where we have the Tenshi Kakitsuke. We refer to the Tenshi Kakitsuke as the divine reminder. So this is a message received by our founder, Konko Daijin, and we consider this the core message of our faith. Ikigami Konko Daijin, Tenchi Kana no Kami, Ishin ni Negae, Okage wa waga kokoro ni ari, Kongetsu, Konnichi de Tanome. So there's that word okage. Pray sincerely with all your heart. Be one with Kami. Kami's blessings begin within, hearts grateful and caring, in harmony and joy. Look to Kami always, now and forever. On this very day, pray. The beginning of the second stanza there, Kami's blessings begin within. Kami's blessings, again, the translation for okage. So why should we strive for on? Why is it important to have this feeling, this sense of gratitude? I think it's to develop another phrase that you see in the Tenchi Kakitsuke. It says, okage wa waga kokoro ni ari. Waga kokoro is to have hearts grateful and caring in harmony and joy. Harmony and joy. Who among us wouldn't like to have more harmony and joy in our lives? I certainly know I would. I'd like to be happier. According to Bronnie Ware, author of the 2011 book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, she's a former hospice palliative care worker. And this is what she learned from many years of being a palliative care worker. These were the answers and these were the things that people would say to her as they were ending their final days in their physical form. I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends and family. I wish that I had let myself be happier. I wish that I would have let myself be happier. So, how do we develop on? There's many different ways. Attending service today. It's a way to develop and think about and be aware of the blessings from Kami's blessings. To do goyo. Many of you do goyo here, service to Kami. And that is a way to develop our own. Of course, through personal prayer. And in response to personal prayer is maybe one of the biggest ways, most impactful ways to develop one's own. This month is Matsui Sensei's 35th year spiritual birthday. Matsui Sensei was the former head minister here in the San Francisco church, and his picture is there on the left. Matsui's faith story I'd like to share with you quickly. Matsui Sensei, I think, really developed his own through what I call a miracle okage. So he had a miracle experiences, oftentimes people do. So he was raised in a minister's family. His parents, grandparents, great-grandparents were Konko sensei. But he kind of rebelled, even though the expectation as the eldest son was for him to continue to be a minister at his church in Iwakuni, Japan. He decided not to. He was going to university, Waseda University in Japan, and while there, the war started, World War II. So then he graduated. They graduated him early. They wanted more soldiers and pilots, and so they graduated him early, so he lost his student deferment, and then he went into the Navy, to the air services within the Navy. And at that time, he was based out of Iwakuni, but he frequently went to Hiroshima to visit one of the major naval bases, which was headquartered in Hiroshima. And there he met Fumiko. And they started dating and cared for each other. And then what happened in Hiroshima? There was this kind of a small bomb that dropped in Hiroshima. And Fumiko was missing. And they couldn't find her for several days. And Matsui Sensei looked for her. Her family, of course, looked for her. And during the day, they would look, and at night, he would go back to his hometown and to his church, and he would pray. What else could he do? And he prayed with all his heart. And Fumiko was lying in a school courtyard, and she remembers being surrounded by other people who were victims of the atomic bomb. And she would see people and said, oh, that person's not going to make it. Oh, that person has already passed on, but they're still leaving her here. But then she heard a voice. So she was kind of losing hope, but then she heard a voice. And that voice said, Ikiru, live. And that gave her hope. And then she was found. Her father found her, brought her home, and she was a mess. She had burns over most of her body and lost a lot of her hair. But Matsui Sensei went and visited her, and they ended up getting married, and they both became Konko ministers and came to this country and devoted themselves to Kami-sama. And so they developed on through that miracle. For myself, Rodney Sensei was asking, how do I develop on? And I had to say, well, I don't know, because I've had a really good life. I haven't had a miracle that I could base my on around, that I could say, honestly, this is the event that caused me to have on. But then I thought about my own faith story, and I think many of you have heard it or parts of it before, but I was born into this faith. I was agnostic for many years. I wasn't sure if Kami-sama existed. But I remember one of my most vivid memories, having grown up in this church, were these two little old ladies. One of them was Eiji's mom, and I saw that she had this aura about her, this sense of harmony and contentment. And so I was really striving to get going with my work career, but I noticed that, and I knew that that feeling of contentment, that feeling of harmony was really valuable. And so while I was striving to enter the business world, and while in the business world, and while I was focused on making money, I still had in the back of my head that image, that feeling that there's something missing. And I have to feel comfortable with my career choices, and I was very blessed to have been encouraged by my parents. And I didn't really think at the time it was thanks to Kami-sama, but I did know that while I was making money and I was comfortable, still I wasn't feeling complete. And then I was always looking for proof in Kami-sama. Does God exist? Can science prove that God exists? And then I came across a poem by Charles Swindoll that talks about attitude and how one has the power to choose their attitude in life. And that is a very powerful choice that we have. And I realized, well, maybe God, Kami-sama, we can't prove that Kami-sama exists, but I can choose if I want to believe in Kami-sama or not. So why would I want to believe in Kami-sama? And I realized that Kami-sama, by believing in Kami-sama, it helps me to be more appreciative about life, to look at things as Kami-sama's gifts, Kami-sama's blessings. The sunshine, the beautiful day that we have today, the food that we eat, and I like to eat, the water that we drink, all of these things, to look at them as gifts from Kami-sama instead of just taking them for granted, makes me appreciate things more. And I think it's human nature, and there's a lot of studies that demonstrate that people who appreciate life are happier and live longer. And so Kami-sama, looking at life through a lens of Kami-sama and Kami-sama's gifts, makes me a happier person and gives me more peace of mind. As I learn to trust Kami-sama, I was always worried about the next thing. What am I going to do next? Where am I going to go to school? What kind of job am I going to get? Okay, what's my next career step going to be? Always thinking about the future instead of thinking about today. And so this faith helps me to do that. And so, again, this is an example of different ways to develop one's feeling of gratitude. And there's miracle ways. There's ways to do it often through goyo and coming to church and being here, being part of this community and sharing your life and your experiences and your stories with each other. That's a wonderful way to develop one's own. And so with that, I want to thank you again for all coming here today, being a part of our community. And I look forward to us all together developing our own. Thank you.